Hello and welcome to this episode of Bloodhound Pix. As always, I am one of your hosts, Craig.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Josh.
Okay, and this episode, it is Josh's double feature pick of Don't Panic from 1988 and The First Power from 1990. So since it's Josh's, I'll let him take it away.
So, are you ready, Michael?
Yeah.
One, two, three!
Promise never to play with the Ouija board again.
Hey, you guys. Maybe he's right. We shouldn't play this game.
Bitching, Tony.
Let's do Don't Panic first since it came out before and it's fucking shitty. So we had been doing this thing where we were like, I haven't done it, but Craig and Kyle were doing like themed type things.
Yeah. We love our themes.
Yeah, which I could give a shit less about themes. Fuck themes. However, I had this idea for like a Satan theme for this week. So I chose Don't Panic and I chose The First Power. So Don't Panic, Craig said, is from 1988. Not surprisingly, you can't even fucking find like general knowledge about this movie. That's how fucking ridiculously bad it is. So like you Google the film and there's not even a fucking synopsis on Google. You have to go to fucking IMDb to actually find out what this movie is about to get a fucking log line. Yeah. So yeah, from 1988, and it was directed by Ruben Galindo Jr. and Ruben also wrote this film. And IMDb says that Don't Panic is on his 17th birthday, Michael unwittingly unlocks the evil forces of a Ouija board. Yeah, I guess that happens. This movie was fucking confusing on top of being bad. And it wasn't trying to be confusing. It just fucking was. Seemingly nothing that happens makes any sense. And it's not based on characters making bad decisions, I don't think. Which, you know, in a movie that cost $5 to make, like this obviously did, you know, sometimes that's a big problem, is characters' decision-making skills are really fucking poor. That wasn't necessarily the case in this. It was just nothing made sense. This was the first time I had seen this too, which was astounding to me because I just fucking eat up obscure shit. But for some reason, I had never seen this one, and I had read that there were these comparisons to A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is fucking insulting to A Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, fuck that. That was baffling to me. I guess at a certain point, near the end of the film, you could say that, you can sort of see a Nightmare on Elm Street, but I mean, that's fucking insulting.
I could see more like a Nightmare on Elm Street 2, maybe, or some. I don't know.
I can see the whole series. Like, I just feel like there's, not in a good way, but just that
Yeah,
that they're going like, oh, that let's do a thing like they did in that movie and like they did,
Mhm.
in part
Yeah.
4 or whatever, and they're just doing the worst job of it.
Yes, that is very true.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
I was gonna say that to go off of that, Josh, watching it, I was paying attention, I thought pretty well for the most part, I guess. And there were points where I'd be like, did I doze off or did I blink at the wrong time or something? Because it just seemed like I missed a whole chunk of movie.
The whole intro of the Ouija board is like that because his friend
Yeah.
pulls it out and he's all mad about it, and you're like,
Yeah.
"There's a backstory here that you
Yeah,
never reveal to us."
Yeah, so maybe somewhere there's like a longer cut of this film. I don't know. Vinegar Syndrome, for some reason, which is a great company, put this out for some fucking reason. But the copy that they have is the 90-minute or 89-minute whatever version. So yeah, it sure as shit seems like there's stuff that was there and then got removed. And it's pretty much, it's in a lot of places where it just like even like some of the location switching was just like, I can't remember specifically, it's been too long now, but where it was just like, when the fuck did this happen? Like going from like the kids, you spend a lot of time in Michael, the main actor or the main character's house. But obviously there's other locations too. And I just remember being like, how the fuck did we get here? Or just some bizarro fucking editing stuff.
Yeah. And it has weird like it has the whole him and the girl they like spending the montage of them spending the day together, and he gets out of giving the guy having to give the guy a pass by giving him a porno or whatever.
But
or
they
whatever
still, so there's like a guard at their school that's not going to let you in because you're not supposed to be late. But he bribes
Which
him
is
with a
like,
porno.
what?
Yeah, it
You
makes no
can't
sense.
go to school because you're late. Well,
Then-
huh?
Even when you get in, you can't get into the class. So then he skips class with the girl he likes. But she's also like, well, what if we get in trouble? And I'm like, but how do you get in trouble if they won't let you into school? What should you do?
Exactly.
Well,
yeah, you
and
tried
it's
to
not
go.
It's not only that he skips the first, then it's like, so they can't get into the first period. So in that mentality, they skip the whole day of school.
I mean, that's sound high school
Yeah.
logic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's right.
It's the most realistic decision.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of decisions that were very, very, very suspect. For some reason, the main actor is a 30-year-old guy playing a 17-year-old high school student who spends 90% of this film wearing fucking underoos pajamas.
Yeah.
And you are meant to, I guess, take that seriously. It's
looks like he's
fucking
wearing-
astounding. It's fucking astounding.
It's amazing.
It's fucking astounding.
And I like, so I mean, obviously we're going to be potentially giving spoilers if you haven't
We're
seen the
spoiling the
movie.
whole
forbid.
fucking thing.
Go watch the movie if you haven't seen it and you are worried about spoilers. If not, whatever.
Yeah, you can't
But-
spoil something that doesn't really make sense.
So there's the thing with the flower. It's like, so the
Yes.
movie ends that he dies and then she's saying his name and it like does, you're like, okay, let's just end it there. That makes sense. But then it goes to his funeral but then it still has her. I don't know. It's this weird editing that doesn't really work.
Again.
But then she throws the flower onto the coffin and it reblooms.
Yes.
And by that point, the movie is over. But to me, by that point, I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm done with it.
Pretty amazing ending.
Yeah. And then the camera goes all like the filter changes or something. I don't know.
I love that it's obviously a Mexican film, but they had to come up with all this pretext of it being like, well, my dad, got some job or whatever, and now we're living in Mexico City for the summer, and there's going to be prominently placed Coke cans everywhere.
Yeah,
and then the first line is like, it's his birthday and his friend is leaving and he's like, is it your first birthday in Mexico City? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you'll get used to it. What the fuck does that mean?
Well, it's also that he moved to Mexico and the cast is primarily white.
Yeah.
They're all speaking English.
They all are white, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I think there's still, some of them might be Mexican and just be like light skinned or something. Or something weird, I don't know. They still have that vibe. They didn't seem American exactly.
I mean, that's a good segue into some of talking about also some of the worst acting I've ever seen across the board. Like literally every single one of them was fucking awful.
Yeah, the line reading,
especially that girl,
deadpan.
Oh fuck! Every single time.
Well, we have to talk about his freak out.
Yeah, that's another very good segue also. Yeah.
So basically there's the Ouija board that unlocks something, and then they kind of half-assed the whole idea that like he's either possessed or he's seeing through the killer's eyes.
The main kid, yeah.
And the rules are super muddy, but he's freaking out in his bedroom because he's seeing stuff. But it's the most like ineffectual I'm going to destroy my room scene ever, where like me and Josh were talking about it before we were on, where he's like, he throws a shirt at a poster and it just kind of falls because it's a shirt. And then he does it again. And then he fucking runs and rips the poster down off the wall. And then there's a slow motion shot of him hitting a cup of pencils. And he's in those underoos, so he looks like he's 10 years old, and he's having like a 10-year-old fit and yelling that he's not crazy. It's like the best thing I've ever seen.
Well, it was probably one of those where they're like, okay, just have throw a fit, and then, but that's all the direction they gave him, and then we'll just film it. And that
was the best he could do.
Yeah. His improv skills were not up to par.
No.
It was also hilarious too that I mentioned that this actor is 30 years old playing a 17-year-old. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, this is a 17-year-old, almost out of high school aged person. And not only is he wearing underoos pajamas for 90% of the movie, but also his posters of choice on the wall in his bedroom are like of Ferraris and Lamborghinis and like exotic sports cars. And it's like, what the fuck what are you talking about? And they make some offhand comment that he's big into racing. Yeah. Those aren't fucking race cars. What? I don't see the correlation.
That's another moment where it's super awkward, where his girlfriend's over and he's just like, yeah, I just love racing. It's just speed is just like freedom. Like they're trying to they were trying to give him some kind of depth, I guess. I don't know. It's just like, what?
Well, it's one of those where it's an adult, clearly an adult writing for a teenager, but they're no longer in touch with being a teenager.
Well, yeah, and they're like writing. They're writing for a teenager, but they ended up writing for like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh fuck! Another one thing, like I said too, it's been a little while since I watched this, as we had to not record one day or one weekend. But one of the things that about this movie, I mean, there are numerous, but one of the things that really stood out to me, and I wonder if you guys noticed this, I'm sure you did. It was like one of the only times that I actually rewound the movie was, it's toward the end when I believe it's the character is one of his friends, and they are in a car, and they get their throat slit. The kid that's like the friend, and the actor obviously had an appliance that you see on his neck that was pre-cut, so the knife, drags across the throat, and the actor also had obviously a blood cap in his mouth, because as soon as the knife drug across the appliance, he bit down on the blood capsule and blood, leaked out of his mouth, but nothing came out of the appliance. And he kind of like leans over and falls. And then once the appliance is sideways, then all the fucking blood comes out of it. And I was like, oh my God, that was fucking amazing. Because I was like, I for whatever reason, I was like, that was the coolest thing ever. I rewound that part because it was like, yeah, that didn't work.
I like that they take that guy who's like a minor friend character out of his house because he's drunk and he's in his underwear, and they get him to like the car, and he's like, where am I going? Where are we going? I don't even have my pants. Let me go get He's like, I got an idea. Let me go get my pants. So like, no, fuck you. And the other guy goes to get his pants. But the whole situation is like, they don't want him to get killed next. But for some reason, they're like holding him at gunpoint, and they won't just tell him what's going on. What?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think going back to the Nightmare on Elm Street thing, I think the ending is it feels so much like they're ripping off Nightmare 2, because it's in that weird, like, industrial.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Which industrial place also pops up in the other film that we're going to be talking about, kind of.
Segue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
Any last minute or any last comments on Don't Panic?
I mean, again, I think we've done a pretty good job of telling you what you're going to be in for. And as I've said too, I'm a huge fan of just real obscure shit, especially from the 80s. And this was fucking hard to get through. It is worth a watch. At least it's only 90 minutes. So,
and it's, I found it on, it's on YouTube, I know, as well, for anybody that wants to find it, because I know it was on Tubi, but it went off. So at least by the time this drops, this episode, it should be on YouTube if you want to watch the movie.
Yeah, and Tubi also must have known that we were going to need to access it for both of these fucking movies, because they miraculously both got taken off.
And the other movie, is on.
Movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So going into the next film, which thankfully I owned this movie, because this movie is fucking really good. At least to me. I was blown away when I first saw this movie. It's called The First Power.
Since the beginning of time, Satan has worked to create the perfect killer. One who kills many without reason. One who cannot be stopped. Today, that man exists. Be warned.
We're just going to go through a very small door here.
Lou Diamond Phillips is hunting a man who kills for the sake of killing. Tracy Griffith might be the only one who can help stop him.
I know where he's going next.
Wait, oh. This location fits the pentagram pattern on the map, and my informant says this is where he's going to strike next.
This is the third time in less than 5 years that Logan has been responsible for the death or capture of a serial killer.
See you around, buddy boy.
I doubt it.
Each death makes him stronger.
How did you know where he was going next?
I opened myself up to him. You might have executed his body, but his spirit has been released.
He has the third power. He could be anywhere.
How's the stomach, buddy boy?
He has the second power.
Hi, cutie.
He could be anyone.
Sister.
Oh, I'm afraid she's not here.
Now, he has the first power.
See you around, buddy boy.
Immortality.
You don't have any idea of what you'll be facing. You can't go on killing forever.
You wanna bet?
The first power.
From 1990. It's very 90s. You'll notice that right away. And the log line reads for the first power: a Los Angeles policeman hunts a killer brought back from the gas chamber by Satan. It makes sense to me.
Well, it's so 90s that it's a B horror movie and the protagonist is Lou Diamond Phillips. That's how 90s we're getting.
Exactly. And Lou eats up the role of Russell Logan, the LAPD detective character. He's just fucking amazing. Peak 90s Lou Diamond Phillips. So the killer in the movie, the actor is Jeff Kober, who does a great job also being this psycho sort of Horace Pinker wannabe guy. This is one of the only films too that I know of anyway. There probably is others, but I don't know of them that really, really, really like Shocker. Which is fucking awesome. Shocker is amazing. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. This movie clearly likes it. There's a lot that it has in common with Shocker. There's a lot that it doesn't too, but I mean the influence is pretty obvious. So what do you guys think of the first power? I fucking love this film. I basically wanted to do this as a pick of mine since I first saw it. So, and that was a while ago.
I mean, I liked it. So I might be kind of biased because I did a double feature back to back with Dope. I did Dope Panic first and then the first power. So then by the time
you should have done them.
No. But I mean, by the time I got to first power, I was probably out of it at points. But no, I enjoyed it. I think I even like the kind of ending. I like how he's going into these different possessing, and there will be spoilers. He's possessing different bodies, and so you're seeing kind of what the nun, who is the sentimental one and the one who kind of gave us a lot of exposition in the beginning, kind of. Then she goes all crazed because now she's possessed with it, and you kind of have these little moments. And the whole, it is in I think it's a water treatment plant. Thing. I mean, I liked it. It was fun, and it was, I fit the bill for those type of movies.
Yeah, it's a solid serial killer thriller, and I love LDP. It's
is that how we're referring?
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I like to abbreviate actors' names. I think there's some really fucking impressive stunts, like especially when there's a sequence when he's chasing the serial killer to the top of a parking garage, and the guy jumps off. And this is the 90s, so someone really fucking jumped off, and it was like very impressive. And the other standout moment to me was they're chasing him into some sort of like seedy apartment building or whatever, but he rips a fucking ceiling fan out and then starts using it to come after them, regardless of the fact that obviously it's not he ripped the cord out, so it wouldn't be running, but it's worth it. The logic doesn't matter at that point. It's just insane.
Yeah, that's a great part. And that stunt that Kyle just mentioned too, where obviously somebody fucking jumped off this. I mean, it was fucking insane how the height of this thing was, and the shot that of the person doing it never cuts. So you literally see it actually like creeped me the fuck out a little bit, because it was like, I don't know how the fuck they just did that, but that was amazing. The ceiling fan thing was just amazing too. Obviously we know that there's some supernatural stuff going on by that point. He obviously rips the fucking ceiling fan out of the ceiling, and the blade just starts going like so fast it sounds like a helicopter rotor. So you know that if you touch that thing, you're gonna lose a fucking hand.
I also thought so he teams up with a psychic who was like giving him tips to originally catch the killer before he goes full supernatural. I thought she was pretty good, and I was like wondering who the hell she was, and she's Melanie Griffith's sister, that actress.
Oh, okay.
Can't remember her name now, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I also felt like the script had some really well-timed and good comedic things in it. Like, obviously intentionally. A lot of it was just through dialogue. But to me, I don't know, it always worked, and I always thought it was funny when it was in there. Because Lou Diamond Phillips, you know, in typical neo-noir-ish LDP fashion, he's a cynical bastard, right? So he's got a lot of dialogue where he just, you know, spouts out, not necessarily one-liners, but in that vein. And it always like, when it was trying to be funny, to me, it worked, and it was fucking funny.
My favorite one, which I don't even know if they're trying that much to be funny, but they're like, he's talking to the psychic about what's going on in some park, and there's a hot dog vendor, and the guy looks at Lou Diamond Phillips, and he's like, oh, she just got out of the hospital. And that guy's like, yeah, maybe she should go back. that was the best, like, J player.
Yeah, that one was good. It also, I think, should be noted too. The LDP's character is Detective Russell Logan, my bad. And the character in the movie, I've seen it a couple times now, so I might have a little more. I might know it a little better than you guys, but the character takes an unbelievable amount of punishment throughout this movie. Like, it's kind of ridiculous when you think of and you actually track like all of the like stabbings and beatings and car crashes and every fucking thing that this character has happened to them throughout the course of this story. And then it sort of culminates in terms of like the most brutal shit near the end, like before the final confrontation. He gets into a car wreck. And again, since this is the 90s, they actually wrecked a fucking car, which looked amazing. But the wreck is so fucking brutal. And it's like, there's no goddamn way that you would have fucking been and like after the car is like has come to rest, Lou Diamond Phillips is in the car, and he has like a bloody face, but otherwise he just gets up and like walks. And it's like, yeah, okay.
LDP, man, nothing can stop him.
Yeah.
We also got to mention right before the parking garage stunt, there is a chase between a Buick Oldsmobile and a horse and carriage. That's why I miss the 90s. Like,
yeah,
so good.
Yeah, this movie definitely, you know, for coming out, it actually would have been shot at the tail end of the 80s. but it came out in 1990 and it was way ahead of its time considering how 90s it is. You will definitely know what I'm talking about. I also love too how the script just kind of gets completely bonkers in like toward the end of the film. Like, you know, we mentioned that the pentagram killer, that's what Jeff Kober is known as in the film. After he gains the first power of resurrection, that's where the title comes from. And he starts possessing bodies, sort of like Horace Pinker. And at one point near the end, he possesses the body of like a homeless bag lady. Yes. And it is, again, I don't know why, but it's like that he's possessed people up to this point numerous times, but for whatever reason, when he possesses this bag lady, this lady is fucking hilarious. I mean, the dialogue that was written for this character being possessed by the pentagram killer, it is fucking funny. And she like kicks the ever loving shit out of LDP too. This is after she floats up and it was total fucking Salem's Lot. She's like levitating outside the window of his apartment, which is, you know, X amount of stories tall, breaks in that way and then kicks the ever loving shit out of LDP. I don't know how many nut shots she gives him. There's more punishment for LDP, but that bag lady, that possessed bag lady is the cause of that brutal car wreck that we were referencing earlier. And it is just fucking hilarious. That whole thing. I almost wish that the killer never would have unpossessed that bag lady.
Yeah.
It was just so fucking funny.
That lady, for some reason, made me think of Prince of Darkness, too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might have been just the wardrobe. Like, it's like she almost looked like she had the same wardrobe that Alice Cooper had in Prince of Darkness. Yeah. Or it was damn fucking similar.
I agree.
So yeah, I love First Power. I thought it was magnificent.
So that's the one we recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
if you have to watch one of them, it is kind of, you know, it's a pretty clear line of which one we recommend.
Yeah. And it is one of those things too that is just sort of sad when you see First Power. Like, one of the first things that I thought when it was over was, motherfucker, they just don't make shit like they used to.
Dude,
just so unfortunate.
We almost forgot to mention so at the beginning they're doing like a sting. They're trying to catch the killer, and there's a woman walking around who's actually a cop. And there's that fucking guy from there's the druggy nurse from Nightmare 3 is one of the cops.
Oh yeah.
Because he's like hitting on her. I don't think he's even in the movie again after that, but
wait, who now?
So you remember in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, there's the girl, there's Taryn, and there's that one male nurse guy that's like, come on, we can go to Club Med. I got the keys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. That was the fucking guy. Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Oh, God, dude. I'm glad you brought this up because there's another fucking actor that we have to mention. And it takes, like, at one point, LDP and his psychic girlfriend, which obviously the love angle. I'm so glad there was a love angle, but it didn't come into play until it was basically over. So totally fine. Anyway, they decide in the middle of the day that it's time for some day drinking, and they go. They go into a bar, and the fucking bartender is Bill Moseley, and it's like he has one line of dialogue that was completely pointless and didn't need to be in there, and then he's not in the movie anymore. And it's like, what the fuck, Bill Moseley, bartender. Yeah,
I remember that. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, very strange. So there's a couple more reasons that, you know, you should definitely see First Power.
Yes.
Some random ass casting. And the acting in this film is solid all across the board. I thought Jeff Kober was great. I don't really know him from anything really. But yeah, I thought he was great.
Yeah, I mean, they all they all kind of, I guess all the actors knew what type of movie they were doing.
True.
Yeah. Nobody was wearing pajamas.
Oh my God.
So, those were our two movies. Our next double feature, I believe, is it my pick next?
Yep.
Okay, which will be, I'm just going to say, Borgman.
Okay.
Because that's been one I've been wanting to do for a long time, and The Last Circus. So,
okay,
they're both on Tubi.
Are they?
Until they
or will they be?
Yeah. Or Shudder. So if you want to watch them before the episode comes out, you can. But yeah, so there's that. If those were our picks from Josh. If you have any comments, if you've seen these movies or you watch these movies and then decide to listen to this podcast and you have different ideas or takes or the same, feel free to comment. Feel free to suggest any kind of obscure independent films that may have come out in the past few years or decades even. If you want to suggest them to us, we always want to, we love to hear more suggestions so that we can keep this thing going. And yeah, as always, like, subscribe, rate, whatever you feel like.
Give us tips on the local serial killer and where they'll strike next, if you know.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
But make sure you don't kill this. We won't kill the serial killer.
Bloodhound Pix podcast is part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcast Network. Produced by Josh Lee, Craig Drum, and Kyle Hintz. Music by Raymond Seed. Editing by Kyle Hintz.